Hello, everybody, and welcome to another live stream hacking on Samui Wallet for the Solana Cypherpunk Hackathon by Colosseum. I'm super excited to be doing another show. I hope it will be a bit better than yesterday. Yesterday, there were a bunch of issues while I was getting started. Uh, uh, One second, please. So the audio wasn't that good, and it seems like it's better right now. And in addition, I lost the screen a few times. So I'll try to do better this time. Remember, we try to be a little bit better every day. So let's see how this goes. I'm still kind of organizing stuff. As you can see, or you might know, I'm in a co-working right now and everybody's gone. It's Friday evening, it's 11 p.m. So I can talk a little bit louder. I hope the audio is good enough. I'm talking through my AirPods, so if anything seems off, please let me know in the chat. I'm live on X. I'm live on the X of Samui Build and my own X. If you're around and you haven't followed Samui Build just yet, please do us a favor and follow us. And yeah, so today I will be hacking a bit more on the wallet. So in yesterday's stream, we built out the cluster screen. And let me actually share screen so we can take a look at what we're doing right here. So I'm going to be switching to this screen. And yeah, if anybody is here in the chat and can hear me, any comments would be really, really appreciated, just so I know that this is all good. Because yeah, I got notifications turned off right now, and that way it doesn't get in the way during the stream. Let me quickly check if everything is good. Bear with me, please, while I'm figuring this all out. I also started doing morning walks to the, I started doing live streams during my morning commute. So that's something I thought would be a cool way to kind of keep you everybody like up to date with the latest and greatest around Samui. We're really locked in. We really want to win this hackathon. We're really serious about starting, going full time on this project. Now, as you may understand, the wallet is really just the beginning. We have a lot of amazing. Thank you for verifying, Mac, that everything is good. We have big plans for this wallet and for this project as a whole. I can share a little bit of alpha here. Today, I had a chat with MetaProfit from MetaDAO. You know, they're kind of pivoting away from being a future key for DAOs to having ownership tokens, which I think is a pretty interesting angle to take. And yeah, he was like, I'm pretty bullish. So that's all I'm going to say for now. There's no commitments, there's no guarantees. We didn't agree on anything concrete just yet. But boy, it got me way more bullish on Samui than I'm already at this point. So let me share my screen here. So this should now all be set up and we can kind of see where this left off yesterday. So I'm going to be moving. I'm also going to close my Discord. I'm going to be moving here and looking at the settings screen. So yeah, so yesterday what we built out was basically an option to set these settings active and how this is implemented in the form of preferences. So what we did yesterday was basically create a preference schema that stores these things. So this is a ZOT schema that we create with all of the fields of a preference. I try to keep it as simple as possible. So we have an enum of options that we want to set. This is kind of handy because it gives us a way to have strictly typed keys. So this makes it so that you cannot use a settings key that doesn't exist. So this, I figured, was kind of a good idea. And then these keys have a value. And right now, this is just a string. We'll probably keep on storing these as a string, but at some point you can figure out like, okay, some preferences are not a string. Some things want to be an enum, others want to be a number, others want to be a Boolean, right? So for instance, auto lock enabled. If we want to store that in the preference, this will be a Boolean. So that'll be that. And then if you have auto lock timeouts, milliseconds, then you clearly want this to be a number. So we'll get there. If we do so, I'm probably going to be looking at using effect schema. Now, if you haven't used effect, if you haven't heard of effect, this is an amazing library that basically ups the TypeScript in various ways. It's the best way to do TypeScript, period. There's just a huge learning curve. I haven't been really diving into it just yet. I've been nerd sniped into this, but I haven't really seen it in action. I haven't really done a ton with it in action. So I want to use this. Toby, my co-founder, is very much into it. He used it on a bunch of his projects. But for now, we're just going to stick with the tools proof we want, that we know. And the nice thing in this case about the using effect schema here is that besides coding an object to the shape, what we do right here, so you can parse any JavaScript object with the schema, it also supports decoding. Yeah, it supports both ways. So you can go from a raw JSON object to this shape, or the other way around, from this shape back to a JSON format. And this is not always an obvious thing to do. For instance, with a string, it's fairly simple. With a date as well, but there might be other structures where it's a bit harder. Anyway, for now, this is it. So we created a schema, and then we just invert TypeScript type, so we can use this preference across our app. So all of that is good. And then we figured out a bunch of operations that we want to do on these things. So this is, we're trying to split up all of these things into discrete functions. So DB preference create. And yesterday after the call, I've actually decided on a bunch of these things. I discussed with Toby on how we should call these things. So we ended up with DB preference create. This is useful if we want to do the onboarding flow. We'll get there in a second. And then the other thing, that the other operation is we want to do find unique by key. So we want to be able to take one of these keys. And again, this is the strongly typed key. And we want to return this reference or null if it can't be found. Or we want to throw an error if there's an error fetching this, basically if there's like another database error. And the last one is update by key. So given a certain key, we want to pass in this update value. So that's just basically a string, either string or undefined. If we want to like unset a key, we figured we don't need delete. We might need it in the future, but right now it's not something we need. So we're not going to add it. We also don't need a way to list all of these settings all at once, because the settings will really integrate with these settings screens. Now, how are these things used? Let's take the update by key as a reference, or actually do the find unique by key first. So this thing here in the DB package, we actually wrap this into a DB React package. So the DB React package has a hook for all of these things. So this is kind of a nice separation of concerns. So we can say use DB preference find unique, and this uses 10-stack query. Again, at some point, we might look at using effect atom, which does the same thing, but that's not today. So I'll try to stop mentioning effect. And this is just typical use query. And we have this pattern here where we have all of these query operations. So basically the query and these two mutations, sorry, we define these things here. So this is where we actually call into this function that I just showed. And yeah, so this is how we call it. Now, where do we use this hook? We use this hook in two places. So yesterday, the cluster list, this is where I showed it. So here we basically say, hey, get this key. get the value here. And again, this is the strict type. So this is pretty nice. And update this key. So we have a data which eventually ends up in a value. And we have a mutate async operation right here, where we actually update the value with this key. So all in all, for anybody that's in doing web development over the last year or something, this should be all pretty familiar. This data is stored in IndexedDB. So if we go to application and we check IndexedDB, there's a Samui Wallet DB. We can actually open this thing up, and then we should see these clusters here. So DevNet, LocalNet, TestNet, this is exactly like that. If we would add one here, I'll say foo, whatever. Oh, needs to be the other way around. Let's do it as it expects. And now I added one foo, and then if I refresh here in the database, this one is here. And then how does this preferences work? Well, we have this preferences table with the active cluster ID, which is now set to E16, which should be testnet. So if we go back to the testnet, we see that the ID here should be E16. What we're looking at is actually the value, sorry. Interesting that this one confuses me, whereas yesterday I was like, yeah, this is how it's supposed to be. The value here is 10. I'm sorry. The value here is 10 DAD, 10 dead, which in the clusters should be the value here, 10 dead. It's exactly how it's supposed to work. And then we can see if we can actually see this key update in real time, because if we do click here, and then I guess I need to refresh. Now here the value is updated to something else. It's F19808. And if we go back to the ID, F19808. So this is how this typically works. And you might have already seen it also updates up top here. So one of the things that I really like is a way to quickly switch clusters, which is something that the typical wallets don't have. So that was what we did today. And that's what we did yesterday. After the call, I added this cluster switcher right now. I will add a link that you can go to these settings really quickly. So if you're in the portfolio, this page will have your balance here, and it will have your tokens down here, and it will show your activity just like any other wallet. And I want to be able to quickly go 1, 2 clicks, go to settings. Might as well just add it while we're here, while I'm doing this, and that will get our first pull request for this session in. So we're going to go to cluster dropdown. And the way I want this to work is I want to have a dropdown separator, dropdown menu separator, and in there I want to have a dropdown menu item. And I want to make this as child, because what we're actually going to be clicking on is a link. And the link will go to /settings/clusters. And I guess we'll have to import this one from React Router, and then probably manage clusters. So something like this, and we'll see if we refresh this. It's not right here, I think. Why is it not right here? Okay, the separator should not have any children. So separate is just its appropriate thing. And now we go here and we say we can just directly go to manage clusters. Amazing. So that's it for now. Let's settings and add manage clusters link. And then we'll just say add link to manage clusters. Yeah, manage clusters. I'm going to call it cluster settings, because this is actually where we want this thing to redirect to. And we can figure this out later, but add link to cluster settings in the cluster drop down. Perfect. Okay, all good, all good. Let's see, it looks like there's 3 people there. I'm going to quickly inspect if all of this looks good. It does look good on my end. I'm just going to quickly test to see if stuff appears when I type on. Yes, it does appear when I type on YouTube. Just going to say GM to myself here. And just verifying that all of this stuff works. Now also, I see that the screen is kind of small. So this is something I'll probably want to zoom in like this. I'll keep it into the screen for a little bit just to make sure that this works as expected. And okay, all good. We should be able to continue. I'm also going to zoom in this one a little bit. And while we're at it, zoom this one as well. So if somebody's watching and you can't read the screen or what's on there, please send a message on the chat. I should be able to see them from all channels, whether you're on X, on YouTube, on Twitch. I should just all see this stuff. So yeah, please interact and engage to make sure that it's there. It's all working. So I'm going to quickly delete database here, and I'm going to restart it, refresh, and then it should be back to its original state where we have DevNet selected by default, cluster here, cluster settings there. There we go. So next up, what I actually want to do today is work on the accounts section. So the way this works is we have an account, which is a type that has a name and essentially a mnemonic phrase. We can actually look at proper accounts because it's already there. So we're going to look at account schema, account-schema.ts. So we have a name, a mnemonic, and a secret. So if we look at an example of this type, example equals, it will be named, mnemonic, and secret, right? So this is kind of the idea around this, on how this should work. So this is just basically your own name, my account, and then mnemonic will be a mnemonic phrase, 12 word phrase. And then secret is the secret that we use to encrypt this fella. Now, at this moment, today, I'm not going to be worrying about encrypting and decrypting this stuff. Thank you for verifying, Mac, that you see everything. Appreciate you sharing that. Today, we're not going to be busy with encrypting this stuff. We still need to figure out how to exactly do this. There's a bunch of decisions to make, but we'll manage to make it work without it. But the idea is that this will have a secret. You'll unlock this secret with your password. And then with that unlocked secret, which we'll keep in memory, we'll decrypt this one. So there's like a 2-layer approach to this. And the main reason is we will have more things to encrypt, because one account will have multiple wallets. So the way this works is that we have a wallet. So this account, the mnemonic phrase, I'm going to use my favorite one here. I'm going to add it in. Till tomorrow. So till tomorrow is the mnemonic phrase that's being used by very secret. Till tomorrow is the secret that's used in the Solana documentation. So the way this is supposed to work, this one doesn't have a public key. What we need to do is actually take this mnemonic phrase and then derive a key pair from this mnemonic, exactly. And for that, we need a derivation path. And the derivation path on Solana is, by default, this path starts with 0. And as you might have seen in other wallets, you can actually derive multiple wallets from same key pair. So That's basically does this 1, 2, 2, 3, etc. So all of these are actual key pairs. These are the things, the key pairs, the kind of name kind of suggests it's a pair, it's a private key and a public key. I guess technically it's only a private key of which we can derive the public key, but for all intents and purposes, it doesn't really matter for us. The naming here is very ambiguous, so we're just kind of following other patterns. In this case, I looked at what Backpack uses. They have this account/wallet idea, and this is what we'll be using as well. So this mnemonic phrase is not a key pair, but we can use this to derive these key pairs. Now, if you've ever onboarded a wallet, and we can actually look at this. So let's go to one of my favorite Solana wallets, besides Samui, I guess, solflare.com/portfolio. A big fan of Solflare. So I start this in a incognito window, so it's a clean session. I have nothing stored here. So let's say I already have a wallet and I continue, and I'll just add. Now it says no active wallets found. Wallets are considered active if there's a sol balance. Now, clearly this spill tomorrow seed phrase, and I'll just show it here. If you search for the seed phrase, which is clearly not a great thing to do with your actual seed phrase, but if you search for the seed phrase, you will find the Solana documentation should pop up as the first hit. How to restore key pair from a mnemonic. So looking from this example, if we run this example, we see that they have like this build tomorrow. And actually curious why this doesn't run. I assume this is something on my end. I'm quickly going to load this in my normal browser. Let's do it right here. Let's pick a new tab, drag it over here. So we're just going to run this code here. I'm fairly sure that it runs. So we're going to go here, restore key pair. And if we restore this, then here we actually see these are all of the derived key pairs from this seed phrase. So the first one is 5 VFT. Then if we quickly hop back to Solflare here, and we continue the setup, we do a quick setup, agree to everything, see a todo, then we actually see a different one, 5F86. So let's go back to this one, and let's try this, 5Z. Okay, so same secret. It's not the same secret. It's this secret, and this is a different secret. So let's try neither lonely flavor, etc. Gonna go back to Solflare here. This is again incognito mode, so I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna close this and restart it back again. Solflare.com/portfolio. And what I'm actually gonna do is drag this one into the header here and remove the bookmark. So I already have a wallet. I'm going to pass this in, paste it in, copy, just type simple password. It will now find it. There is none. So agree, let's go. And now we have V5 AT. We also have a bunch of other ones. So it looks like there's actually value on this thing. So if somebody's interested in earning $1.95, you might want to try and get this stuff out. It may not be able to send this. We can actually try it. So let's try and copy this one, wallet 2, which is GCXB. If we go back to our Solana documentation, GCXB should be the one, and then 7QP, 7QP. It's not derived, it's wallet number 3. So let's see if we can get back wallet number 3. We say add wallet, wallet number 3, 3K, and it's all the way down. So yeah, Solflare doesn't allow you to numerically derive. So it just finds all of these wallets, and then that's it. Now, I'm kind of digressing, but we need to implement the same thing, because the whole idea of being part of this ecosystem is, and you want to build a compatible wallet, is that people can import the key pair, the seed phrase. Now, on this note, it's a very bad practice to import seed phrases and to move them around. I do it, you probably do it, but it's still a bad idea. Like on Solana, the transactions are cheap and fast, and there's no way to just create a new wallet and use a new wallet, fund it with some Sol, and then you can make transactions for a long time with a very small amount of Sol. That being said, we intend to be a ecosystem compatible wallet. So we are going to support the same derivation path. We are going to support iterating over all of these wallets. So my goal is that if you paste in the same seed phrase that we find here, this fella, that you actually get out these fellas. Now, in order to do that, I started something. Don't want to go to the search page. I want to go to Samui. While we're at it, everybody that has a GitHub account, we need 2 more stars to get to 50. So please help your buddies out and get us to a 50 stars. That would be amazing. And so today I was working on this and I improved a whole bunch of key pair generation tools. So these should be all of the tools that I need to be able to generate this and do this in a front end. I had this in one big PR, but I figured out I'm going to remove the key pair part out of it, put it in a separate PR. And luckily, it's like almost 1,000 lines added and 40 something removed. The big majority of these are actually tests. So this is where we're going. Here's where you see the derivation path. We replace I with the iterator in order to get the same list of keys as we have here. Now, all of this is open source, so I'm not going to go into that. Check this out. Please do check the repo if you're interested. Do check it out. Thank you, Darlies, for the support. It's amazing to have you here. Super glad that you're checking me doing my live stream. As said, all of this is open source. It's PR69. Nice. So that's what I did today. So I already have a bunch of the codes ready. So let's actually switch to this branch. So I'm going to go check out the branch bman settings accounts. And it says I need to remove this change, which I do because we already checked at this. But we have the schema and we will be implementing the UI to work with this schema. So I'm going to check out my branch here. I'm going to rebase on top of my key pair improvements branch, just so I got all of these key pair handy. And what you already see is that I have an accounts here, and I have a nice empty state where I say no accounts found. So this is something that I already built out a few days ago. I think when I was on the couch on my other laptop. So I pulled that stuff in. I cleaned up the key pair stuff. I merged it up. I added a bunch of tests. I critically looked at all of these helpers and added a bunch more. And I should have enough to do this. Now, I've been working on the generate part so far. And I've not worked on the import part just yet. I did add an import here, and it will just it will import a blank wallet, basically. So yes, the basics work, but it doesn't all work. So let's get into it. And the first thing I actually want to do is super superficial, but I want to update this icon. So we have this settings pages here, which should be a hook, use settings pages. And I have the create screen. So account create TSX. And this is used right here. Now let me actually go to the create screen itself. And what I want to do here is, let's see, what do I want to do? I actually want to go to the empty state, account empty TSX, account empty TSX. And I want to use this wallet, Lucid wallet. So we're using Lucid React for the Lucid, however you want to call it. And I'm going to add a wallet here so that this icon here updates neat in line with the other one. Now I must import this thing. There we go. Okay, so accounts, it's right here. In fact, I probably also need to have an empty state for these clusters. So this is a nice empty state, nice new little building block from Shetsien. We're using this. Clusters has no empty state. So if anybody's looking and interested, go check how I did this, rework it for clusters, link it to the create screen. Bob's your uncle. I'll be forever grateful. You have an opportunity to be the first external contributor to Samui. Just saying. Anyway, for now though, I want my clusters back. So I'm going to delete the database and refresh, and that should get us clusters back. Great. New accounts found, new generate. So I had some issues with the derivation, but thanks to me reworking this logic, it now works as expected. So I can create an account and create a wallet, derive the first wallet from it. So in most apps, and we can look at Solflare again, but you might as well trust me. In most apps, you will be able to add the derivation path. So this is something that we want to store next to the mnemonic phrase, basically. So we have this mnemonic phrase. We do want to store this derivation path, just so if I create number 1, number 2, number 3, or actually number 0, number 1, number 2, etc. I want to know what is the derivation path. What should I replace the I here? So this is something that we store next to the account. So we just looked at account schema. In this PR, I actually updated this in the account schema. So we now keep this value. And actually for the wallet, I did the same. For the wallet, I did not do the same. I did the derivation index because we know which account it belongs to. Now here's something that I need to change as well, because this wants to be a relationship. And I think I have an example on how to do these things, but I'm not really sure. Let me actually figure this out. So I'm going to search for z.object. And because I actually want to use the value of that, I want to relate these things. I want to make a more strong relationship between the two. Cluster schema, it's not here. Preference schema, it's also not here. Okay, wallet schema, because this is actually account schema dot shape dot ID. Now, both are string, zot string. So what's the big deal? I think it's good that these things link together. I think it's good that the schema links together. And so much so that it might make sense, but I'm not really sure how that works, that we actually have a wallets array here, which I guess is z.array of, and then the type here is wallet schema. Now this will be a circular dependency. Account schema has an implicit any type because it doesn't have type indication, and it's referenced directly or indirectly in its own initializer. Right. I'm going to leave this for now because we don't need it at this point. But at some point, it would be good to have a way to say, hey, accounts, you actually have an array of wallets. So to do add relation to wallets array, basically. So we need to figure that out. Not for today, but it's going to be added there in the notes, in the to-dos. So cool. So yeah, this kind of already works, but it doesn't really work. And this is also not the interface that you want to do. So let's go here and say, let's search for generate account, just to quickly hop to this piece of UI. There we are. Now, there's a few things here that I started building out while I was doing this in my offline session. And the way I like to think about these things is that I like to keep these features, if you will, in this case, the settings feature called account generate. I like to keep this thing lean and mean. I don't like any logic to live in here, at least as little as possible. So the best way to pull it out, in my opinion, is actually create a hook. And now this hook, this is where we get together a bunch of these other hooks. We looked at the USDB ones and use derived from mnemonic. So the use derived from mnemonic is a mutation where we pass in a mnemonic and we get out a derived wallet, which is this data structure here. Now this mutation by itself is fairly simple. It takes the input, which is derivation index, the derivation path, and the mnemonic, and it calls into this derive from mnemonic at index. Now, derive from mnemonic at index is this function. So first we're going to derive it. So this one is more or less calling into this function, which is coming from here. It's calling into the BIP39 mnemonic from seed. So first we're going to get a seed from this mnemonic phrase. Then we take that seed and we create an HD key. Just for reference, HD key, that's this format, BIP44. Here it's using an alt library, but it's the HD key. I have no idea why it's called HD key. I couldn't care less, but this is what it's called. And this is what allows us to iterate over a bunch of IDs, in this case from 0 to 10 or to 9, and figure out all of these wallets, derive these wallets. So it's basically a way to take a seed that comes from a mnemonic and generate a bunch of key pairs from that. In this case, we're using the kit, and GIL works the same. We're using the create signer from key pair bytes array. So we're getting these key pair bytes, the private key bytes, which is this, coming from here, and we're creating a key pair signer. So if we're looking at our typing, we should see that this returns an HD key. So I basically just split all of these things up in small little functions, small little building blocks that we can reuse and compose just to make it really easy. And then the larger functions that we do have, like this is on the large end already, it does a bunch of runtime error checking, but it prepares here an array of results. And then it basically does the same what we see on the example on Solana.com docs. It iterates from to 2, and it replaces this I with the toString. Remember that the derivation path has this word, this symbol I in here. So we're replacing this symbol with 0, and then with 1, and then 2, 3, etc. until there's 9. So I kind of think that makes it clear. Now, all of this, for me, this is about as much as I know of key pair derivation from mnemonic phrases. It's basically what I need to know in order to get by as an engineer on Solana, working on these type of things. Now then, with these key pair bytes, we're gonna get this key pair signer. I'm just doing it for clarity here. So this is the key pair signer that we get back. Again, this function comes from Solana Kit. It will also be in GIL. We might switch to GIL at some point. I don't know. I don't care too much at this point. I'm using GIL Kit. We pass in these private key bytes as a uint8 array, and we mark it as extractable. This is, as the name suggests on the tin, so that we can later extract the private key and show it to the user. Now, this is by itself kind of a topic. These key pair signer, the key pair signers, they have a symbol on them called crypto key, which is here as a crypto key pair. So this key pair. So I'm going to say crypto key pair. So this crypto key pair is a browser native symbol, a class. It's part of the Web Crypto API, and it represents a key pair for asymmetric cryptography known as public key algorithm. Now, this is amazing. If you've ever built Solana apps like more than a year ago, like let's say 2, 3 years ago, you've most likely fought with your bundler with Webpack and make sure it installed buffer and all kinds of related stuff, Node crypto. And we all need to polyfill this stuff. The Web Crypto API is a native browser primitive. The subtle crypto is, I think, is part of this library. I'm not 100% sure how this all ties together, but the Web Crypto API is basically what we want to use. And this is an amazing piece of technology, and it has this crypto key primitive. It's an interface. I'm going to call it an interface as of now. And the nice thing about this interface is that it gives you the option to be extractable. Now, those of you that's been around long enough have seen a bunch of hacks in the ecosystem that were basically caused by an engineer using console log and logging some key pair, some private key, a mnemonic phrase, or whatever into the logs. A hacker gets, or an attacker gets access to these logs like a rogue player. They can't contain themselves, and instead of telling the people like, hey, you're doing something wrong, they actually go ahead and empty all of these wallets, right? Now, the crypto key extractable prevents this. So it's indicating whether or not the key may be extracted or not. Why would you want to do this? Well, it's great to not extract a key if you don't need to represent it or have a user export it somewhere. So how can this be useful? For instance, if you think about the WhatsApp application on the web, WhatsApp claims to be end-to-end encrypted. So they need some key pair. Now, what WhatsApp doesn't offer you is a way to get this key out. Like this has been, this is inside of WhatsApp. They don't give you the option to get this key out and import it in another system. So this is a big deal for security because if any like malicious script or malicious extension runs on this WhatsApp page, it can never get this key and use it on your behalf. However, we as developers in the crypto ecosystem have been used to being able to actually export these kind of things. So at some point, you most likely have exported a wallet in your favorite browser extension, and it gave you something like this. It gave you the byte array of this public key. So it will take you a bunch of warnings and clicks, and you'll have to walk through this and say, yes, I really want to do it. And no, nobody's watching over my shoulder. So please give me the thing. And you'll end up like this. And this byte array, if you have this one, you can recreate. This is basically the secret. This is your secret key, which allows you to sign any transactions for this public key. It's basically giving you access to the wallet, right? So on one end, I'm like, yes, we want to use this browser native primitive. But on the other hand, I know that my fellow developers and myself included, we're used to having the option to export these wallets. So what I'm thinking about, like initially, we'll run with it. We'll do it like this. It feels kind of dirty that I have to deliberately work around this security. But because we're going to focus on developers at some point, when deriving a wallet, I'll probably give you the option store it in a non-exportable way. Now, there's a bunch more things to it, and I have a limited understanding of this. So if everybody sees this and hears this and I'm talking BS, please call me out on this. This is what I understand of all of this stuff, and as I said, this is what gets me by. So that was kind of a rambling around what we're doing here and what we're doing with the crypto key pairs. So I want to be able to derive this thing and then generate the wallet. And then if this is generated, I want you to be able to derive a new wallet. So we need to derive account 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So in this account list here, we have the settings account list and the account list item. And I want to derive the wallet with the extra, the +1, basically. So I'm going to say derive wallet. with this account, and the index is going to be a number. So derive wallet. So if I click this button, I want to say derive wallet with this item, and the index is going to be this. So I had already console logged this. This is where I left off yesterday. This is where I was like, okay, I need to break up these things. So derive wallet 1, and then this should make TypeScript mad right here, which is great, exactly what I want to do. We're going to add the missing attribute. I'm going to copy over this thing and add exactly the same one right here, derive wallet and derive wallet. And we're basically just going to pass this thing around. Now, I'm aware this is prop drilling. I'm aware there's solutions to this. For now, I frankly don't care. We're in hackathon mode, and we're already doing quite a bunch of more stuff than we maybe are supposed to do for the proof of concept. So I'm not going to bother for now. I'm going to do this differently. So we're not going to have an inline function. We'll just have a closure here. So we're going to say log item, and account counts. And the index is going to be index. And quickly doing a console log. So now I'm doing exactly the thing that I suggested, like, hey, this has been the issue for a lot of people. Yes, it's an issue. People use console log and they print this kind of stuff. And it's very nice to have options to go against this. But the reality is you either use console log or you're lying. And this is just the way how we do this. And it's not great, I know. I'll be on the watch to not leave these things in there. But yeah, this is what we could probably prevent. Anyway, for now, I'm going to have this wallet derived. And for that, I'm going to go back to my create screen that I just saw. So in this account create, in this account generate, actually, in this account generate, we have this generate mnemonic, derived from mnemonic mutation. So this is what I'm going to do right here. This is what we'll be using in the list. Oh, not that way. So derived from mnemonic mutation, and this is the thing that we're actually going to do. So we're going to say derived from mnemonic mutation async. The mnemonic here is item dot mnemonic. The derivation index, derivation path is item dot derivation path, and the derivation index is the index. Now, a few things that I actually realize, I don't have to pass along this item. I do have to pass along this item. Sorry, I was kind of optimistic. I do have to pass along this item. So I'll do this right here. I'm going to clear this one because I don't want to see it. I do derive wallet and it's not there, but if I refresh, it is not. Let me see why. It might be that the wallet is disabled. It's not disabled. Let's see what is not working. Let's do some more console logging. Now it's a bad practice, but I am going to go forward with it. It is showing me the right stuff, derivation index, derivation path, etc. I assume that this spin math pink cry coffee is the mnemonic phrase. So we do derive from mnemonic mutation, mutate async, this mnemonic, index 1 with this path. Passing it in here, derived from mnemonic. Okay, yes, I know what happens. So this just derives it. We need to store it. So it's derived, but we don't store it. So how we do this in the other situation where we use this? So let's see, derived from mnemonic, we use this in the list. We use this in the generate screen. But in the generate screen, we take back as a result. Okay, cool. So that's what we're going to do right now in the list as well. So we're basically going to say, okay, const derived wallet equals, and then log this fella out, derived wallet. So this now should be the right key pair. There we go, C6IF. Awesome, and that's then the one that we want to store. Now, as some of you that know my way of working, some of you heard me talking about code some more, you know at some point I'll say there's 3 steps to implementing a feature: make it work, make it right, make it fast. Right now, I'm very much on the make it work path. We'll make it right at some point, but create wallet mutation, mutate async. We're going to take the input. So the input here is the derived wallet, and we need some more. So we'll add my header to do it, and this is item.id. But that's actually the account that we're using. And now I expect this thing to exist. There we go. Bam. Awesome. So this works. We can now derive multiple wallets from one mnemonic phrase, very much how this is in the example that we have. And this is just a feature of the list. Now we clearly want to add some more UI to this thing. This is not great how it works right now, but as said, we first make it work. So this works. I'll be removing console logs, and we can actually create these things. Now, another thing that I realized that these wallets, they want to be sorted. And if we look at the DB wallet find many operation, no, this is not the thing. If we look at the DB account find unique, we see that we actually DB account find unique. We're going to look at the function here. We'll see that here we get the unique accounts. DB accounts find many. This is where it is. DB accounts find many. In here, okay, I'm rambling. Let's see how this is actually working. DB account lists. We have settings account lists. We retrieve, okay, DB account live. There we go. Okay, this is it. So IndexedDB and Dexy doesn't allow relationships how you would expect it in like Postgres, or if you use like Prisma or Drizzle or any of these ORMs. This doesn't work. So what we're going to do is we're going to say .order by, and I think we want to order by derivation path. And that seems to make most sense because that's the one that we count, that we iterate through. Now the error that I get here, Dexy error, says key derivation path on object store wallet is not indexed. Well, that's very true. So let me actually go ahead and do that. And then first, I want to see that the wallet schema, it has a derivation index. So we actually want to be able to sort on this one. Now this is optional. I'm not sure if that is an issue, but there's a very good way to figure that out, and that's just by checking it. So I'm just going to tag this one in here. It will not work. So this is kind of a thing. Right now, I can quick and dirty delete database, and then it might just work. It may. Derivation index. Does it want to be a plus? There you go. It wants to be a plus. I'm going to delete database again. Now, this is right now because we're in development mode, but once we get to actual people using this app, we cannot just make changes like this. So we need to be pretty sure that this is the way it works. We can like version this. but I'd like to keep version 1, just the proper schema for the longest time possible. So we're going to derive this. Actually, don't even need to derive. I can just click generate. I cannot just click generate. Derive, generate. Why does this not work? Console. Key path action contains. An invalid key path. Field to create index, derivation index. Interesting. The things you learn when you actually start building with something is just crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and make this number not optional. I'm gonna make it 0 by default. Now, why do I want to have the 0 by default? Why can't we not make it optional? Well, we'll support more wallets than just derived wallets. We'll support imported wallets, which is just your random byte array that you want to add to this list. It's not derived. We also want to watch wallets. So you should be able to just have a read-only one. And this is why secret key is like optional here as well. Now let's see, let's go ahead and see how this works. And I'm gonna go and delete database again. It's actually no index to be detected. Interesting, I've never seen this. No index to be. On this page, you can view an index to be. It's not there. And is the console erroring out? Interesting, interesting. Key derivation path on objects for wallets is not indexed. So I'm going to quickly Google Dexy and index, what is it, integer. Indexable type. So here it figures out what are the things we can index. We should be able to index a number, foobar. ID here is a number and we don't need to add anything in like a plus. Okay, derivation index. You know what the issue is, I think, here in account live. I'm referring to derivation path, and that doesn't even exist. So I was just a logical error. I was just being stupid. Now this works, and this should now result in a list that doesn't jump around. It does jump around. Okay, interesting. This is not what I expected. How about instead of doing it right here, I'm just going to say sort. And I'm going to sort by derivation index. Okay, the other thing that I want to do is like this derivation index. Like it may very well be that my tests are now breaking. They do not. But it may very well be that I'm not setting my derivation index. So we're going to go here, account list. This is where I say derive input. There you go, derivation index. So I told you it's 0 by default. So now I'll go here and I'm going to delete this one. Sure. Generate new key pair, derive it, generate it. And now we should have a list that doesn't jump around. There we go. Amazing. So cool. So this is that. I do want to quickly create a little small table for this thing. So right now this is a list and we're using Shatsian. So I'm actually going to go to Shatsian and figure out table syntax. And we're going to use this little cute table because I like it. And I'm going to go back to this one. I'm going to paste the table here and how am I going to call this thing? It's going to be called settings UI wallet table. And this is going to have wallets. I'm going to call these things items because that's what I like. And this is going to be a wallet array. And this one here, this is a little bit different. So this is /workspace/UI/components/table. There we go. And when I save it, it will pop up. And then instead of iterating over invoices, we're going to iterate over the items. And then this is an item where this is all item dot, where the key is an ID. And then we will have, let's actually do the derivation index first, because that's small and short. And then here we just want to show the name. We're just going to have 2 cells, just like that. So index will just add the numeral. This can be 20 pics. This can be the name. We don't need a footer, and we definitely don't need a caption. So we're going to go here and remove the invoices array because we don't need it. Going to go to settings wallet, and then in here, bam, add this one here, and say items is item.wallets or nothing. Great. And then add the button back there. And then if we hit refresh, we should see a nice little cute table. Amazing. Now, this is how I wanted to see it. So let's go back. This is definitely not how I want the UI to look like eventually, but for now, this is just good enough. This gets the job done, and we will be able to generate multiple wallets from one key pair. So moving this one out into its own file. So now we have a little small table for doing these things. And the reason I don't really like this UI like this, and I might actually change it while we're at it. We're 1 hour in. I have some more energy to go. It's 12:15 right here. So the way I don't like it is this is going to be a very long list. So I'm generating a new one, and you're doing it right here. This is not great. Also, this shouldn't be font medium. And so what I think is that actually you go to a individual account right here, and right here, this is where it belongs, right? It shouldn't belong there. We should talk with UX people that like studied this stuff, not some random geek on the internet like myself. But this is where I want to see the actual wallets. So let's make that change. So to make the change, we are in the update screen here. Now, for better or worse, I'm just going to add it to this update screen. So wallet settings wallet table is going to be added here to the update screen inside the content. And instead of the data that I have here. And the way to find these things is db wallet find many. Wallet find many, and wallet find many takes an account ID. Takes an input, which takes an account ID, which is what we have. Now this is wallets. Error wallets is error wallets, and is loading wallets. Now this is kind of messy, but hey, it gets the job done. Like, we don't care if there's no wallet links, and then this should be able to add wallets right here. So now we have this one. Great. So that's cool. So let's go back to where we originally used this, which is in the list. So we can get rid of this. Now let's re-implement this button then. So the button actually doesn't want to live on the list. So the button also wants to live on the settings on the update screen. So Let's make sure that this is always set. Let's add a button here. Derive wallet X. This is basically going to be wallet's length as this one. And here we have this derive wallet function. Now this is a feature. So in the feature, we're allowed to have like hooks and stuff. So this is nice because then we don't need to do the prop drilling. As you see, I'm deleting codes that I just write in this function. That's the story of my life, people. I'm just adding stuff to later replace it, to later delete it. I'm going to copy over this whole, I'm going to actually copy over this whole thing. Save it. Go back to this feature. Add it here. Now I'm going to do something ugly. Const x equals. I hate this syntax with a passion. Don't get me started. It's temporary. And what I'm doing, I'm picking up these two and adding them here. Now, I already said I like to have these things in a hook. So what I can say is function use derive from mnemonic, or use derive and create wallets. And then basically move the whole shebang here. I'm going to just copy it over. And then let's see what we're doing here. We're going to get the count in here. This is actually a mutation. So we're going to say use mutation, and the mutation function takes some parameters and executes a function. And then the function it executes, this is actually it. So these are the things that we take as a argument. So it's item and index. And I think this should be the whole mutation function. Now, this almost directly compiles, which is kind of bullish. Which means that we don't need this one. Oh. Which means we don't need these two. But we do need to derive wallet is derive wallet, derive and create wallet. And here we go, derive wallet dot mutate async. Make this an object where index and item are a property of the object. And then if people still follow along and you still believe this works, then let's see what we got here. Okay, it does create it, but it also errors out. Now, why is that? That's because the list is not updated. Also, this thing is not ordered. So when I go to these DB wallet find many, this thing find many calls in DB find many. Here we want to sort this thing. Order by. Where are we going to order by? Derivation index. Bam. Now I expect this thing, if it loads, interesting. Order by. Let's do name. That works. It doesn't work. Why? Does it want to be asterisk? Order sort by. Let's look at the live file that we just did. Here it's order by. Here it's sort by. Okay. Okay, sort by derivation index. TypeScript happy? No, no can do. Okay. Gonna do it differently. Just gonna sort after effects. Dot order by dot sort. It's just plain JavaScript. And AB Okay, sort by derivation index. That's the AI. Help me, please. Just got this code right here. Copying it over from right here. Pasting it in as such. Come on, buddy. 0 to 9. Awesome. There's a fucking mosquito here, which I just helped. There we are. Screw that motherfucker. Using too much profanity. Now, why does this not work? If we derive it, it doesn't refresh. So that's a fairly easy thing to fix. And I'm going to do it the imperative way. So we have the refetch function here. So I'm just going to say, after you've done this, do a wait, make this a async, and then a wait refetch. And now we should see that new wallets should be added. Doesn't work. Okay. Why? Because we're refetching the wrong thing. Now it should work. There we go. Okay, awesome. So hope people still follow along. We generate one here. We go into the details and we derive wallets and they now automatically appear. Amazing. We made it work. So we're going to move this to its own file. Now, as I said, there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be figured out here. There's a lot to be improved. But I think for now, this is better than it was. So that's a great thing. We're going to leave the pre and basically give you an option to keep on deriving wallets. Amazing. Keep it right here. Now this live doesn't need all of this mapping. So you don't need to have the wallets right here. So this doesn't even need to map anything. So really this function can just return this, which is not even async, which is not even this, sorry, this. Let's see at the other one, cluster live. This is the syntax. It's just a function like so. Yeah, just gonna really copy over these things. And it's no longer accounts with wallets, it's just accounts. And then we're gonna re-implement the content of the function, which is just this, where we say accounts. It's not even like this, it's account index. Accounts, and we want to order by name. Do we want to order by name? Yes, I agree. We want to order by name, and this is now simple. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So this works, and we can delete a bunch of codes and generate accounts with wallet mutation. So this is generating accounts with wallet mutation. Here we miss the derivation index, which by default is 0. I agree with that. Now this creates the account and then it creates the wallet that we derived here. So create wallet. Where do we use this more? We use this in the use generate account and use derive and create wallet. So this is pretty great. This is how I expect this to happen, more or less. So I do the mutate the mutate of the first, so I derive it here and then I do the mutate very much here. I derive it here. but I derive it using this mutation. I derive it using this mutation, sure. And then I call into this one. I like it. At least good enough for now. Last thing that I'm going to do, and then it's about time to wrap up, I think. I hear my voice is already getting a bit weak, so I should probably hit the sack anytime soon. I think this is not needed. There you go. So now this one is nice and in the middle. So we have an account and we can derive multiple wallets from this account. Great. Because we have the mnemonic phrase and because these are all pure functions, there's not pure functions, there might be side effects. They are functions that, given the same inputs, they'll have the same outputs. Is that pure? I don't know. For now, I'm going to call it pure functions. Because all of these things are the same, we can actually pretty easily just add a delete button here to delete these things. Now the question is, do we want it? Do we need it? I don't know. The other thing, now that this is here, we should use the settings screen just how we did this one, set default setting. We should have the same with account. Now, clearly, after creating the first account, and we don't have a preference for this active account ID, because this is clearly going to be called active account ID, we should set it. So on this creation, initial creation of the thing, or maybe on any creation, so see generate accounts with wallet mutation. We want to make sure that, hey, if we don't have, what is the key called? Reference key. If we don't have active account ID preference, set it, and the same for wallet. Now, this is one thing. The other thing that we didn't really look at is the second codeway. So if we delete this one and we go and import, this should behave the same. Should use the same logic, including this logic. Don't want to re-implement this twice. The other thing that we want to have, and now we're going to quickly go back to Solflare. So I'm going to open this in the hidden mode and actually going to close the tab and close this tab just so we have a new incognito session. Go to Solflare webpage. I need a new wallet. We need this UI as well. So I already vibe code a bunch of this in the airplane, actually, on my way here. So I got a bunch of code that does this. I got a bunch of code that does this, that allows pasting. We have the switch between 12 and 24. I need the paste option, but that can wait. Need the upload option, but also that can wait. I'm not going to add uploads before the hackathon for sure. Now, this is a typical onboarding flow, but I figured after making this work, I have the primitives to work on the onboarding flow. So basically, goal from here is wrap up this stuff, clean it up in such a way that I'm happy with it. Once I'm happy with it, and this is landed, and we can generate new accounts and derive key pairs from this, I'll work on the import feature right here in the accounts settings thing. But this one needs to be built out, pasting it in. And all of these things should then, I should fix these to do. So that active account and active wallets are set. This will be a separate pull request. And once these things are there, we're going to make it so that your whole wallet, this whole UI, will not render until you went through the onboarding flow. And then with that in mind, on a new system, or if you like delete your database, as I've done a bunch of times during the session, you should be able to visit this page, select you want to generate or import, typical onboarding, either generate, store it, generate, derive, store it, or import, derive, and store it. And clearly set these things as the active preference, because if you then refresh the page or visit again, it will not present you with it. Once that's there, we'll be able to add a drop down. So I'm actually going to make some notes, just going to do it here in line. To do add UI to accounts generate, add UI to accounts import. Then, if we don't have an active account preference, set it, and afterwards is implement if we add or import and don't have an active wallet, set it. If we have add or import and don't have active wallet, set it. If we don't have active wallet account and active wallet ID, redirect to onboarding screen. So the onboarding screen is probably going to be a feature by itself that imports from settings. So that's it. I think this was a useful session, at least for me it was useful. I'm going to add a second commit to this thing. I'm actually going to run a bunch of scripts, which we have here. So it's going to be check types, which should be okay. Don't think we broke the types. We did not. We're going to run our tests, which still should be okay because they're in watch mode. So if they would break, they would have broken during this, and there would be a sea of red, which there is not. Dev server still runs, so that's all pretty good. And we're going to do the lint fix. And then the lint fix, if that's all working without any changes, I'm going to do the format. And then if this is all clean, I'm going to push this up. Now, I don't have a pull request open for just yet because I first want to merge the thing that this depends on. But the thing that this depends on is the key pair improvements. So this should be 2 pull requests with the same change. And we're now checking into fairly lengthy. There's a few things that I might be able to get out, like these are the global UI components. But on the other hand, I think we're pretty good here. So we have a bunch of nice clean hooks that are focused and do stuff. Now, I'm very much aware that I'm assuming a lot of happy path. So there's no check if this fails. We don't handle the edge cases. But I think we need to move forward, and I really want to get this stuff in and this account feature so I can build the rest of the stuff. So that's it for now. I'm going to leave it here, friends. I'm very happy for all of you that joined me here today. It's been a great pleasure. I hope to be back tomorrow on the same channel and get some more pull requests in, get some more features landed. I hope this will be reviewed soon. And I know Toby is having a wedding, so he has offline things to do, but doesn't stop me from moving forward with this. And I'm very sure that he's like, his hands are probably itching to start coding as well. So it's really cool because he's building the actual browser interaction where if you click a send transaction on a web page with Samui connected, that'll actually prompt a piece of UI. So all of this is coming together really well. I'm really happy with the progress so far. So I'm going to be landing this to the onboarding flow. And that's basically for me, that's one of the main parts where I'm going to be adding, listing your portfolio, listing the tokens that you have, listing the activity, the sol balance, all of that good stuff, which should be fairly simple compared to all of this. So thank you everybody for watching. I'm going to leave it here and I hope to see you soon.